I recently drove past this diner here in Orange County on the way to a client's property. I noticed some of the buildings around it, looks like they're either being renovated or soon to be torn down. And I'm a little worried that this building is next on the docket. And so tomorrow, come on, where are you? There we go. And so tomorrow, I'm gonna go out, come on. All right, you know what? Talking to you while loading sheet film is probably not the best idea, so give me just a minute here. All right, there we go. So, as I was saying, I'm gonna go photograph this building tomorrow morning, and tomorrow's Sunday. It's actually closed on Sunday, which is perfect, because, ooh, I'll let this thing air out now and then. That'll be perfect, because I actually want an empty parking lot. Now, I've actually already scouted the location twice. I spent the better part of an hour today trying to figure out a composition, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been struggling. You know, of course I used my little iPhone app, and man, I tried everything. Close up, I tried across the street, I tried wide angle, I tried telephoto, I tried a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. I tried including a lot of the buildings to the left, I tried not including the buildings to the left. It's just been difficult. And tonight, as I was scouting it at dusk, I was about to throw up my hands and just say, screw it, it's not gonna happen. But then I got a little stubborn, and I said, I need to figure out a composition. This is insane. So I switched over to 4x5 on my app, and I finally found a composition that I think I like. The only thing I'm really concerned about at this point is my pre-visualization in terms of lighting is not as solidified as I normally like. Part of the problem is there's like no lights in this building. They leave one tiny little light bulb on inside, and there's no exterior lights. So I think tomorrow morning what I'm gonna have to do is play it a little bit by ear, be in the moment, analyze the light in the moment, have my shot ready to go, and then when it feels right, start shooting. So let's hope it goes well tomorrow. Like I said, it's a black hole. So I don't know that deep, dark dawn is gonna be the best way to go. As always, framing up a composition in this darkness is never easy. It's a shame there's no lights on outside of this building. Like the Red Hill Cafe signage, I think that probably lights up during business hours. That would look pretty good, but I'm not gonna get that lucky this morning. I had toyed with doing a composition much closer, just at the corner of the building there with my 90mm, so my wide angle. And I decided against it because I don't really like the wide angle look when I'm shooting buildings like this. It just feels too, I don't know, modern or something. Just picture like someone with their Sony a7 III just getting up close with the ultra wide. It just, I don't know, it doesn't feel classic. Doesn't feel like a good match for this older architecture. So I moved back with my 115, and I think this is going to be a much better approach. All right, I brought a ton of film, so I'm just going to photograph this thing in all sorts of lighting, starting right now with this soft blue morning light. All right, we're doing f16 and a third at 15 seconds. So I'll have to check the reciprocity on that. Reciprocity for Kodak Portra at 15 seconds is 35. All right, let's do it. It's getting brighter fast. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. No, hold on. 3, 2, 1. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Overall, I'm quite pleased with this composition. I was able to eliminate all the distracting elements that I just had a hard time avoiding from other angles. Now I do wish there were more lights on. I wish there were some accent lights on outside the building. I wish there were more lights on inside the building, but that's something that's just out of my control. And besides, it actually worked out okay because the building is facing east. It ended up picking up this really nice warm glow of the rising sun in its windows. And I think that splash of orange-yellow light in this blue ambient light made for a nice contrast. And there are a lot of little details in this photo that I absolutely love. From the smashed concrete barrier in the foreground, to the hodgepodge of signs in the window, to the empty newspaper stands just out front. It all comes together to create this story of how this building has evolved over time. Now, if you're familiar with large format photography, you probably know that each film holder holds 2 sheets of film, one on each side. And when I shoot large format, I typically expose both sheets to the same exact picture with the same exposure settings. And this is to give me duplicates, basically a backup negative in case the first negative has any issues. Scratches, light leaks, errors in development. I have that backup negative in case something goes wrong with the first. In this instance, I'm sure glad I did that, because that picture I just showed you was actually my second exposure for the morning. The first exposure was ruined by some lens flare. I didn't realize it at the time, but the car headlights coming down the road casted light on the lens and created this lens flare. So good thing I had that backup. You may notice that I put my dark slide white side out after it's exposed, not before. Pretty sure everyone else does it the opposite. They put the white side out when it's unexposed and the black side out when it's exposed, but that always felt backwards to me. Because I mean, after all, light has hit the film. If it's black, that means light hasn't hit the film yet. So maybe I'm crazy, but works for me. Fortunately, I have to go for a pretty big depth of field here because this foreground is so much closer than the building, and I can't utilize any tilt on the lens because it won't. Because the building's vertical, if I tilt it, it's going to throw off part of the building from being in focus. All right, sun should be rising in about 12 minutes. I'll do one exposure with this light, and then I think I'll wait until the sun rises before I expose any more. At first glance, this image probably looks almost identical to the first one. But if you look closely, you can see how much the light changes in just 5 to 10 minutes. On the first one, the interior light is actually quite visible, but on the second one, it's gone completely. And the reason for that is, as the morning progresses and the ambient light gets brighter and brighter, I have to keep reducing my exposure to tone down the ambient light. In doing so, I tone down the exposure on the interior light as well. And so that dim light bulb inside becomes too weak to even register. Naturally, I prefer that earlier exposure because I think it's nice having some of that interior light shine through the windows. One of my favorite things about photographing an old building like this is it only gets better with time. Like the picture only gets more interesting with time because, you know, like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years from now, we're gonna look at that 2 pancakes, 2 eggs, 2 sausages for $6.50 and be like, can you believe how cheap things were back then? Can you believe it? A hamburger, fries, and a soft drink for $7.75? Oh, those were the days, huh? The picture's gonna develop a nice patina, I guess you could say. This building behind me is evidently an Amazon distribution center because all morning there's just been a parade of white vans going out to make their deliveries. Even on a Sunday, people need their Amazons. The first rays of sunshine are finally hitting the building. Can't shoot quite yet though. I think I want the light all the way down the building, but also the sun is actually reflecting right off the glass, which is going to create a huge flare for me. Unless I move the camera. Yeah, screw it, I'm moving the camera. If I move it just a little bit to the left, that sun is hidden by a pillar. It's going to be 16 2/3 at 1/15. And I'm out of reciprocity territory. That'll make my life easier. This exposure with that early morning light just part way down the face of the building came out better than I thought, but I wouldn't say it's as strong as the initial exposure taken in that blue dawn light. And by the time that morning light made its way all the way down to the asphalt, I think the photo kind of lost its impact. This light is bland, it's flat, it's a little boring, so I think that dawn shot was really the best. I actually had a couple sheets of Fuji Provia reversal film with me, so I went ahead and exposed those while I was out there too. You can see the drastic difference between reversal film and print film. The narrower dynamic range of reversal film results in much deeper shadows and much brighter highlights, which I think is a little too much for this high contrast lighting. Well, I know that was kind of a short one. Nonetheless, I think it was well worth it. And I hope you do too. But you know how I feel about you. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.